Earth lodge jobs that never go away. Stacking up the firewood. Funny thing is, you'd think it's one of those things you'd get bored of. I never do. Because one of the things I know is that I'm going to have the joy of sitting around these boys, feeling the heat, cooking over them, hearing stories unfold, and being part of that ever-going fire. This stuff here is called marcasite, hugely important. It was being used over 500,000 years ago for lighting fire, with just a little bit of flint striking the edge. There we go, we're getting sparks. So all we need to do is land one of them sparks on maybe a piece of jagger, and then push that into an ember and make a fire. Now the thing is for a while I haven't really got round to doing many posts on my YouTube channel, and that's not because I didn't want to. There's a couple of factors that have been preventing me from spending time on here. One of them is that I've been really busy running my courses, and well, the main one really was when I lost my dog to the road. That knocked my juju, and it was one of those things. There was nothing that I could do to make myself feel any better, and thinking about anything about the Stone Age and all that sort of stuff wasn't really featuring. That's a few months ago now, and moving into a different place, and I really feel like I'm coming back. I've got a new dog. I decided that I'd kind of fill that hole in, and can never really fill that hole in, but it's helped. So I've been working on getting my vision back together and deciding on what I'm doing in the future, and I'm most certainly going to be appearing here quite some bit more. In fact, what I'm looking forward to doing is posting a video once a week, and let's set a time for that. You can look forward to my posts at about 6 o'clock on a Thursday evening every week, and during that period of time, what we're going to do is we're going to go on quite a few different adventures, let it be said. Right, so let me just pull this camera down a little bit, and as you can see, what I've got here is I've got a nice piece of flint. This particular piece of flint came from Elvedon. Elvedon is a little place a mile over the hill from here, and I've always known there was good flint there, but it's really hard to get hold of. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to have a look at a little bit of blade core technology. Something I've been getting into recently is called indirect punch work. So basically that goes exactly where I want it to go when I'm ready to pass the blades off, and we should start pushing long, straight, nice blades off of here. The most tricky bit about this is flattening out that top, and I'm going to attempt to do that by hitting this here. So it's always good to look at the face of the hammer, right? Because if the hammer ain't no good, it ain't going to do the job you want it to. And not for protection, although sometimes protection's a good idea. This is more for vision. pop a pair of glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. So what the intention of this shot is to take that complete cap off in one hit. So pop that to the side of the leg, place it where I intend it to get back to, and give it a smack. Didn't get what I wanted that time, so I'm going to go again. What I do know though is the flint inside is nice. Okay, that was much more positive. See that piece there? We could use that for making a hand axe or something like that anyway. So there are imperfections on this top, but we can start forecasting things down the length of this now. And we've got quite a length to go at, but there are some undulations that I'll probably have to straighten out as we go. So here we go. Basically I need to straighten this line out a little bit. What we're going to do is just push these little flakes off like that. And that's straightened that line up, look. Incidentally, looks a little bit like my dog. Completely black with a little white stripe. Right, so that's straightened up the line a little bit from that side, and we can just use a little soft hammer and strike out a few little flakes the other way. And then what we can do is we can have another look up here. Now the first one is a core flake, and the top here is a little bit beveled over. That's not particularly helpful. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to see if I can just take a little tiny flake off of the top here by turning that over. And on this occasion what we're going to do is we're going to just apply the punch and give that so that little flake came out. It's still not as good as I want it to be, so we'll just try and straighten it up a little bit like this. Okay, that's not too bad. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that there so that's jammed into my chest, and we're going to place this punch right here, look, and give that a strike. So that blade there was the first crest blade, and it came off as it should. Not full length, but that doesn't matter really too much. So the next thing is we're going to begin to see if we can move around. There's a lot of secondary work that needs to be done on here as we go forward, but we'll talk about that as we go. Good. So what we have from that one is we have a larger flake. It's not particularly a tall flake, although you could make that into an end scraper or something, and that is opening things up. And then if we look here, what we've got is we've got a bit of a rise in the journey of the flake, so that really needs to be dealt with now before we go any further. A lot of the time when you're doing this indirect, it's about trying to find a position so that you can get into to actually do what needs to be done. And predating, if we go back a bit in my journey time, I've made lots of blade cores and always done it with what we call direct percussion. So that little bit of work there was preparatory. It's called platform isolation. The reason we call it platform isolation is because we've created a bit of a peak. And then with this stone here, we'll call that an abrader. Basically what we're doing is rubbing that on the top. That takes off anything that's loose and too sharp. And this flake here is quite an important one. Now, interestingly enough, what I want to do is I just want to talk about the angle of this. So at the moment, this is in a straight line down this crest. If I bevel that back a bit, that's going to help in terms of counteracting what we know as the bulb of percussion. Otherwise the flake will be driven in too deep. Right, good. So that one was hugely important, that blade there, because that has travelled, and what we can see is it's got where the exit strategy is on either side, that's razor sharp. The other thing that's really important about this is it did the length and it's started to get the final part of what we call the crest. So that's a really, really good little blade. Now, the other thing about blade calls is finding the stiletto in it, which means we don't want this face to get too flat. What we want is we want it to continue to become round. So it's probably worth me coming over here now and sending something down this side here. That's going to help to continue the forecasting of the blades that come down. So we'll pop him down, and then what we're going to do is going to look at the top of this, because the top of this, once again, just at the top there, it's not as in good condition as I'd like it to be. So really I need to hit it right here, just behind the treble, and to obtain the distance and hit it all the way back there, the punch is not going to serve me right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that here, go in with a hammerstone and attempt to take that full length off with the hammerstone. That's a bit of a tall order, but we'll give it a go anyway. Okay, so that's gone down there. I know I don't have too much problem with that. It ran into a little bit of a problem at the bottom, but what we'll do now, we'll take that away. I mean, that is a really strong, sharp blade, that one. And there's a variety of different things that you'd want that for. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and clear the thing that was left up at the bottom here. And that worked out brilliantly. I'll show you what I mean. Basically what we had is we had a little bit of a cluster there, and if you can imagine now that's gone, we've just got still a little bit of a rise here, and that does need attending to. So this time I'll attend to that with the soft hammer. And there's still a tiny little bit more, and that's good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and send this flake down here, if the top looks good. And to be quite honest, the top doesn't look too bad, but it just needs a little bit of secondary prep. It's quite funny because a lot of people, when they're watching the indirect punch work, they think that I'm putting myself in a little bit of danger in my ghoulies because, well, the flake is being sent off towards me. And let's just look at that. That did its journey, came this way. And you know things have gone well when you can put your finger at the back and push that flake forward and it travels out. That means I didn't cause any problems for myself later. What I would say also is, because this is sloping that way, primarily this is the front of the core. So what we'll do is we'll come round here to the side a little bit. Keep putting the punch on if I'm losing it. So why do I do it this way instead of another way? Because I've tried it the other way and I just don't get the results. This is producing the kind of things that I want. So these are quite nice because you can make arrowheads out of stuff like that. And the blade core now is starting to look really good. I've got a little bit of a concern about this because there's a bit of a lump and a bump right at the top. And I can probably just try and send a little tiny bit of that way. Yep, that works out. It's quite amazing because these are the things which either mean you're going to succeed or fail. If we pop that back, you can see that piece there needed to go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just do a little bit of isolation like this, and then a bit more abrasion, because the next flake that comes off is quite an important flake. Well, in fact they all are, because now the core's running, what we definitely don't want to do is cause any problems, because if you cause problems along the flake face, oi, get out there. If you cause any problems along the flake face, then what you've got to do is something what we call bipolarising. And bipolarising means that you've got to take flakes from the opposite end to come up. As you can see, that's travelled. So this is a bit of preparation work once again. Sort of slightly taking the edge of the core back a bit. Slightly isolating. And then using this abrader in an effect like that. The little bits that come off actually hit me in the forehead, just because of the angles that I'm throwing about. And I reckon that that's good enough to consider. What I'm liking about this is the technique as well. So that one, I got two flakes, one on top of the other. So that's underneath, that is on top, and they've stumbled just here, which is slightly problematic, because the next flake isn't going to like going past that unless I take a really thick flake, which I don't mind taking, but it's good to see problems as they come up as well. So what I have been finding is that this technique I can actually get people to do quite easily in a workshop capacity. I've had students making 6 to 7 inch blades, which is always quite impressive to see a student achieve that. And over the years of flint knapping, I've tried this technique a few times, and some things were going wrong. What kept happening is kept splintering and shearing slices off of this punch. And the reason for that is because my punches was too skinny. So I managed to get a piece of a nice Alaskan moose off of Donny Dust out in America. But what got me to have a re-look at this technique is when I went to Denmark. There was a guy out there that I met on the beach collecting flint, and it was one of his favourite techniques, and he was really good at it. So it forced me to have another look at the technique. He would call this a demolition removal, because I'm trying to take something bigger off. That's Peter Wyken, if you've never heard of him. Right, good. So that flake that came off there, although it truncated, meaning it snapped in half, what it did do is it went past the problem, even though it's ricocheted a bit. And that just goes to show, you know, if the flake has got to travel through something stressful, it's generally going to show that in the outcome. Then we turn that again. That's a good one. So we're starting to bring the core, we're starting to win the core back again now. What I really want is I want this one to come under here and deal with all of the little imperfections along this face. So that's another demolition flake that's got to come off. So just go for this, then we'll stop and we'll have a little yarn about stuff. Oi. Pearl. Nice. Pop that back. I'm pushing my luck by trying to send these such a length. But all said and done, you can do it a lot further than this, and that's a conversation for another video. Anyway, so like I was saying to you at the beginning of the video, I haven't actually been doing much on YouTube as of late, and I do intend to get back to it, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So because I do have a plan, and the videos are going to be slightly more regular, so you can expect when to see them, say like 6 o'clock Thursday or Friday. I'm not really sure yet, but we'll work all that out. But I'm coming back, and we're going to enjoy some skills and enjoy some journeys. One more thing I'd also like to add is that what you can do on my channel, if you choose to, is you could become a member. There's a tier system, and within that tier system we're going to be structuring different benefits for you, and that will be like private videos that other people don't get on, shout outs, all sorts of stuff, but all that's yet to be concluded. But the membership is already there, and if you do choose to become a member, you're supporting me and you're supporting this whole journey, which I'm telling you right now would be hugely appreciated. So we'll leave it right there. That's me reconnecting and hopefully you'll enjoy going on the next part of my chapter. So for now, I'll see you in about a week's time.